Hey now, and how are you doing? We're going to welcome you to the next episode of Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. Today, we're going to talk about breaking the bank and being your own bank. We're going to bring on my friend Joe Lombardi. How you doing, Joe?
Good. How you doing, David?
I'm doing well today, man. It's good. Today's another good day in my life, and I'm real happy about that. Okay. So, Joe, I'd like you to first just tell us a little bit about yourself before we start diving into the deep stuff.
Sure. So I'm the owner and founder of Ironhawk Financial. I've been in business for 21 years. I've won 27 industry awards. I have over 2,000 clients around the country, over $1 billion of protection and rollovers in my career. I've been featured in International Business Times, Business Insider, Market Insider. I've written 3 books: Being Your Own Bank, There's a Better Way Than a 401k, and Long-Term Care Without Long-Term Pain. 5-star rated on Google, A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau. I was recently on the cover of the Who's Who in Building and Construction for the Blue Book. I was also on the cover of the top 40 advisors in the country under 40 years old. And I basically have 2 strategies. One is being your own bank, and then my other strategy is rolling over existing IRA and 401k money into a strategy where you cannot lose using option contracts, been averaging about 14%.
Wow, that's impressive. We'll hear about that a little bit more. How'd you get into this? I know some of your background, so I'd love you to tell us about those ashes. That we don't just come in and say this is what we want to be. We want to grow from what's happened to us. Could you share some of that with us to kind of walk us into why you became the leader in your industry?
Yeah, so this is God's will. I was 4 years old. Parents got divorced. I was working with my dad. He owned a construction company out of Fairfield, Connecticut, not too far away from the Bronx, where you're from.
Yeah.
And so we actually did some work in the Bronx. But so I was just me and him, and we lived very poor. I lived in an attic that had no running water, mattress, toaster, TV, bucket. And that was life. I didn't know any different. I was 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. And then my grandmother gave my dad a loan to start David Lombardi Builders. And then that was when the housing market shot up in the mid 90s. And then his company just started going nuts. And then we were working in Greenwich. We were doing the CEO of the NFL, CEO of Coca-Cola. At this point, he got married, had my sister. She was born 2 pounds, 7 ounces, fetal alcohol syndrome. My ex stepmom drank vanilla extract and Listerine during pregnancy, almost killed her, came out 12 weeks early. During that time, I thought I was going to be a contractor. I was a demo guy. I was like 13, 14, 15. I would smash up the kitchens, carry them to the dumpster, the bathrooms, and I loved it. It's just something to do, and plus I
You don't like
made
smashing
extra
things,
cash.
right?
So we're at a job site in Greenwich, and they were hanging a mural, like $100,000 mural, on one of those huge mansions on that row in Greenwich. And my dad was getting impatient that it was taking him so long, so he was paying by the hour for the crane. So he just put up a ladder, went up there, and said, "Hey, we're gonna get this in now." And it wasn't fit, and he was telling the crane operator, "Hey, go left, go left." The crane operator accidentally jerked it too fast or much, and wiped him right off of the ladder 30 feet down. Bone in his foot just exploded into 1,000 fragments in his ankle. And so now at this point, I'm 15, my sister's 2, my ex stepmom's in rehab, and my dad's in a hospital, surgery after surgery, rehabilitation. He was out for 2 years. So I basically either had to go to DCF because I wasn't 18, my sister was 2, or I step up and raise my sister until my dad gets out of the hospital. And I didn't think it would be almost 2 years, but that's what happened. I dropped out of football, track, and basketball, and I worked at a daycare. And at this point, I thought my dad was going to be okay. Didn't kill him, it easily killed him. And came back. All the trucks were relettered. All the workers stole the trucks, stole the tools, started their own businesses with my dad's vehicles. And he came back. All his houses were repossessed. He had about 15 properties in Stratford, Connecticut, and everything was just gone. He came back to about 400 rent checks, but after 90 days, those are invalid. He had no health insurance, so his 2 million he had in his retirement account after taxes was just gone, and he literally lost everything. And I'm sitting there like, at his height, he was worth $20 million, and I'm like, how the heck did you lose everything? So there was no construction company for me to take. While I was doing construction with my dad, we went to one of those wealthy people's houses, and he said, "Go play with the owner's kid." So I went to go play with the owner's kid, and I had an amazing time. The kid had a baseball field in the basement, a basketball court in the basement. It was like a dugout basement. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen, an elevator going to the basement. So we got back in the truck and I'm like, what does that guy do? And my dad said he works on Wall Street. So in the back of my head, I always wanted to work on Wall Street because I wanted that quality of life. I wanted that lifestyle. But now that I'm thinking about it, now the construction wasn't an option for me. I didn't have any company, David Lombardi and Sons, to take over. So I basically was bartending one day, and the CEO of Northwestern Mutual came in and said, "Hey, I love your service." Gave me a big old tip and said, "I'd love for you to work with me." I was just turning 19, and I got into the business while still at college. And from there, I started chasing trucks on the highway. I would go after contractors that reminded me of my dad. So roofers, masons, landscapers, excavators, plumbers, electricians. And I'd call them up, say, hey, my dad fell 3 stories off a ladder, lost everything. Can I buy you a cup of coffee and show you how you can protect yourself from that not happening, financially if something happens to you? And they used to call me the dog because I would fly on I-95 like 100 miles an hour and pull behind all these trucks that have their phone number on the back. And that's pretty much how I started my business 21 years ago, just trying to help people not have to face the same circumstances that my father did. People, it happens.
We all know most of us are a few paychecks away from being in that same position. We don't realize it. We don't think about it because we're naive in some ways. And that's where the growth really comes into things, is knowing what you want and how you want to do it, but also to make sure you have that backup, that second plan, or as you would say, be your own bank.
Yeah, I wasn't really into the be your own bank strategy immediately. And then
Sure.
about two years later, my mom dies, cirrhosis of liver from alcoholism at 52 years old. She had no life insurance. And then about a year after that, my grandmother had a stroke, led to dementia. She lost my grandfather's estate, $4.2 million when he passed, which he owned Lombardi Masonry, built all the Westfield Shopping Mall foundations and all the stonework in Trumbull, Connecticut. And it was like that was gone in 6 years to the nursing home. They stole it. But so I was like, this is nuts. Like this can't be how people live with no long-term care, no life insurance, no disability, no pensions. I'm like, there's no way people are living like this. They got to protect their future self. And boy, was I wrong. And I realized that every person I talk to, all their money's taxable, all their money's illiquid, all their money's tied up in 401ks and business valuations and real estate, and which is high fee, high tax, high illiquid. And I'm like, this is nuts. This is not what the super wealthy are doing. So I started working with the top guy when I went over to Barnum Financial Group. And I just learned so much back in 2006. And I basically took what I learned from him, which was diversifying your taxation, diversifying your market exposure, having downside if the market crashes so you don't lose anything in that asset. I learned about it being sue proof, divorce proof in some states, liquid, earning double digit returns tax free, which is like earning double that in a 401k. And I'm like, this is what the wealthy people are doing. Because at that point, I was working in Manhattan, I was working at MetLife, and then I moved to Guardian and 7 Hanover Square in Manhattan. And I was like, you watch The Wolf of Wall Street. That's what was going on. There was definitely what they predict
Yeah,
showing.
I remember back in the day, that was the route I was gonna go in with Merrill Lynch and things like that. Where back in the day in the 90s, early 90s, I had friends who were gonna get me in the back doors, like the back room, not the back doors, the back room to start out and build from there. And I almost did it. And I remember talking to somebody and they were like, you work 50 minutes every hour, which sounds cool, right? You get 10 minutes. He goes, but in that 10 minutes, you're throwing up because of either the pressure or all the stuff that you're doing. He goes, because you have to keep a high energy. He goes, it's ridiculous and it's not really sustainable for a well balanced life.
No, it's true. I remember doing calls from 5 to 9 every Monday, 5 to 9 every Wednesday, 5 to 9 every Thursday, 9 to 1 every Saturday. And I was like, this is nuts.
Right.
Trying to grow your book, trying to get the orphan clients from these major companies when the agents left, because they turn over agents like
Yep.
nothing. And they're like, the guy just sold me the policy. I just met a new guy. I'm your new guy. It was just
Yeah,
so weird because
it's ridiculous. I just came out of 30 years of corporate America, and I would get that call all the time. Yeah, we're a licensed broker by this. I was like, I just spoke to somebody, or did this. And I'm like, no, I mean, I at this point, I had moved everything to a friend of mine who manages, who works in that field. And I'm like, no, you can start seeing the patterns, but not everybody sees the patterns. So you were really seeing all these things, not only from your personal experiences, but also as you started diving into the business world.
Oh yeah. I started at Northwestern Mutual in Westport, then I went over to Barnum and Shelton and New York City. And then I went over to Mass Mutual. Then I was at Guardian, and it was the same old thing. Now for new agents, it's even worse. They got World Financial Group, Ameriprise, Primerica, which are like multi-level marketing
Yeah.
financial advisor, like a plumber at 3 o'clock and a financial advisor at 5 o'clock. You're like, what the? It's even worse now, but even the general agents, they own your book, they own your soul. You try to leave, they hit you with non-competes, they
Yep.
threaten you. It's like the little mafia you
Well,
would know in
that's what it is.
Brooklyn.
Everybody's carved out their area and to try to knock down the entrepreneur or the little guy who wants to just go out on his own and do some things.
Yeah, I was lucky about 6 years ago. I said, I'm sick of getting hurt by general agents promising you the world, giving you nothing, stealing money from you. Oh, I need you to put this piece of business with this new guy so he eats his bonus and I'll take care of you. And then they never do. And I'm going to get you this big corner office. And then they bring in some guy who's doing half your production or a third of your production. They give it to him. That's how I got him over. And you're already here. And I'm like, I was feeling like a battered wife. And I was like, which was the best thing that could have happened. I started my own business 6 years ago, and man, was it the best thing I ever did. I like 10x my returns because there was no sales manager taking a cut doing nothing. There was no general agent taking a cut doing nothing. It wasn't like over half of my income was just being stolen from me for no reason. And you can't say this, you can't do this, you got to do this, you got to wear this. And then when I went out on my own, I got to just be me. And it was amazing because I'm a blue collar guy, even though I was in a white collar world. Because my dad was a builder. I was around the electrician swearing at the plumber screaming at my dad, "You're this, you mother effer, did this." And I'm like 9 years old. And I'm like, this is, and then my dad going to Dunkin' Donuts, talking to strangers in line. You hear about the blonde with the big, and like you hear about, and that was my life. And then I met my wife, and my wife was like, I met her when I was 18, and she was like, I've been with her 20, what, 22 years. And it was like, you can't talk like that. I'm like, what do you mean? That's how I grew up. I had no mom. Like, I just, and then she's like, no. And then so she like down.
She gave you the straight and narrow.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I'd be as half as successful as I am now without her, but it's just crazy to reflect on where you came from and how things are. And you're on your own when you own your own business, but you're technically on your own when you work for these companies, by the way. But they give you the perception that they're there for you so they can still
Right.
have your stuff. But it's pretty cool. And then it's just telling everybody, hey, you want to save $1 million in taxes? You want to save $1 million in taxes? And some people look at you with three eyes. It's like you want to protect yourself. Oh, that's not true. If the market crashes, I don't lose anything. It's like, yeah, it is. What's the returns? Like fixed 2%, I don't know, 15% tax free over the last 20 years. Yeah, it's here it is in writing by a 176-year-old AAA rated mutual investment insurance company. And so it's a lot of fun because opening up people's minds to the possibilities and them not being so brainwashed on this IRA 401k tax write-off thing. Because that was the biggest lie sold to Americans, and there's been a lot of them. But the lie is, oh, write off the money now when you're in a high tax bracket, and then when you hit retirement, you'll be in a way lower tax bracket. You save all your money. And
It's just,
I did my thinking.
right, if you do the right investment and you retire, you put enough into your retirement, then the RMDs are still so high. You're like, all right, I didn't, if anything, I might be worse now than I am before.
That's what happens. Successful people don't just stop being successful when they retire. They don't. It's like, I'm gonna be making the most money I've ever made just with inflation when I'm 40, 50, and 60, and then I'm gonna live in poverty when I retire. That's your plan. That's your big strategy.
Well, that's where I feel that a lot of people don't strategize the right way or really think about their strategy. And that's one of the things that scared me. Part of my story is December, I ended a 30-year career because they eliminated my position in corporate America. So here I am now. I'm like, all right, got to figure it out. I've been mentoring and I help people with a lot of different things, but I'm like, okay. now figuring it out. And I'm glad I had a plan, but I know there's so many people when I talk, the company that I was working for let go 9,000 people. So I know some of those people and I'm talking to them. What was your plan? I don't know. I just put it into the 401k. I'm like, how do you not have a plan? Like I got to tell you, I want to live my life. I don't know how long I'm going to live, and none of us know. And I want to make sure that I can in a lot of ways. It's scary when we do that. And planning is so important. And especially that's why I wanted to bring you on because I want to talk about financial planning and just not that this program is intended to be financial planning. You should always go see an advisor. Joseph's information will be contacted. This is not going to be financial advice for anybody goes, oh man, now I understand it all. This is a lot deeper. We're not going to get into it in a half hour. There's no way.
Yeah, it really comes down simple version, helicopter view, just diversify the biggest pools you have, which is your taxation, your market exposure, your liquidity. And another aspect is there's four things that are guaranteed to happen to every human. You can't escape this. You're either going to live long and then die and most likely run out of money. You're going to die early and leave your family emotionally distraught and broke. You're going to get disabled and everything that you were working towards is now gone because you insured all the golden eggs. You didn't insure the goose laying the golden eggs, which was the actual important thing to insure. And then you're going to need long-term care where you're able to take care of yourself, and the state is going to be sitting there licking their chops because they know they're going to charge you a quarter million to 300 grand a year hiring people making $20 an hour.
Yep.
And now you're stuck with one person in charge of 15 people. I call it jail because if that person, you ring the bell or hey, I need to go to the bathroom, sorry, I'm watching TV or I'm on my phone, who are you going to call? So it's like wealthy people understand, okay, if I live long, build a tax-free pension. If I die early, I have a tax-free benefit to my family. If I get disabled, make sure I have tax-free income coming in. If I need long-term care, let me accelerate my life insurance tax-free to live on so I keep my hard assets that are illiquid, taxable, and high fee to get out of, like real estate, stocks, bonds, brokerage accounts. And now I have a bunch of cash that can take care of that deal. So people hear 200 grand a year, 250 a year, that's your net cost. Your gross cost, if you have a 401k or an IRA, is like $450,000 a year. And they're like, what do you mean? Because if you pull 450 out, you got to give the government 200 grand to then give the home 250.
Right.
So it's like people don't do these plans. Oh, I'm fine. I'm worth $2 million. I'm like, okay, so you got 5 years.
Yep.
Then what are you going to do? Not even 4.5. And the
Mhm.
average long-term care stays right around 3 to 4 years. So
Mhm.
it's 2 million of your hard taxable illiquid assets are going to be gone. And I feel like my grandmother, and it's not going to kill you disease, but it's like a dementia. I just don't know where I am. I can't take care. You can live 10 years. You can go through 7, 8, $9 million of qualified money, real estate, brokerage, and you have nothing to leave the people you love. And you worked your entire life to have the state steal the money from you. And it's, oh, 401ks are great. Really? IRS is going to take half when you need the money. And then Wall Street's going to take half. Wall Street doesn't take half. What's 1.5% compounding over 30 years? 70%. And then what's FICA, Medicare, unemployment, Social Security? What's that going to add up to? We do owe $300 trillion in taxes or in debt, excuse me, which will be earned through taxes, through U.S. funded unliability, U.S. unfunded liabilities, Medicare, Social Security, and our debt. In the 1980s, here, the highest marginal tax rate was 70%. In the 1960s, here, it was 91%. We did not owe the taxes that we owe now. And so that's why I've written my 3 books. Being Your Own Bank teaches you how to use life insurance as an asset. There's a better way than a 401k, right? You just retired. I got a great place for you to roll over your 401k, whether you want growth or income, right? And then you have the long-term care without long-term pain is utilizing different strategies that cost you 1/10 of the cost than what you're going to net pay or gross pay when you need the care. So it's like doing these strategies now, having that solid foundation. I lived it. I lived my dad's disability, my mom's death, my grandmother's long-term care. I'm now my dad's power of attorney. He's got Parkinson's. All my siblings left after his last asset was sold, his primary house in Fairfield. So it's like everything was left on me. On top of that, I got 3 kids. On top of that, I'm married. So it's crazy how if you fail to plan, your plans to fail, and you have to have something in place to fall back on to make sure the people you love the most, when they're going through a very hard, traumatic, emotional time, aren't going through an emotional and financial traumatic time.
Right. I think that's part of the plan is that you have to, by planning, you're also reducing the stress on other people. If you're just trying to, and that's why educating yourself is so important. By educating yourself and not, and trying not to educate yourself when you're in the fires, when you're in the ashes of your life, educate when you're in an even ground, right? You should never cut down a tree in the middle of the winter. That's what they say, right? When things are tough, don't, that's not when you should be looking to learn and make decisions. You should need to make those decisions beforehand.
Yeah, you think like, how do the wealthy stay wealthy? How do the winners keep winning? How do the poor stay poor and the losers keep losing? It's counsel, it's information, it's knowledge. What do the wealthy people have? They have estate attorneys, elder law attorneys, financial advisors, insurance agents. What do the poor have? Their buddy that's a plumber telling them what they need to do with this hot crypto stock of the day. Who do you think is going to win long term in
Right.
that scenario? That's why with my company, I have lawyers, CPAs, attorneys, elder law attorneys, accountants, all in my business. So it's like anything my clients need, I provide them a value. And if it's something that my company doesn't do, I have a direct connection to another company that does it. And it's so important to have that team around you and have one guy double check the other guy, right? It's harder for 2 people to hurt you if they're both good people than just to have one person hurt you. So it's really important to have a
Well,
team.
it's always better to have a community that really has your back than
Correct.
to just look for a guy. There's lots of little pieces to that. How would you suggest for people just beginning to educate themselves? Because a lot of times that's where people become more uncomfortable. Coming, even sitting with somebody like you is very trustworthy. But you want to know, not necessarily know all the details. That's what you go to an expert for. But how would you prepare somebody or suggest to people to prepare themselves to start to become a plan so when they walk into somebody like yourself, they know what to do going forward?
Number one, you have to not have high interest debt. That's cancer to your future self, right? Because we have our past self, our present self, and our future self. And we're trained as Americans to hurt our future self to benefit our present self. If you want a car, you get a car note. You want a house, you get a mortgage. You want college, you get student loans. You're broke, you want a TV, you get a credit card. We're trained to say, who cares about our future self? Only worry about yourself, because if you don't keep consuming, this whole house of cards is going to fall, right? You keep up with the Joneses, buy a car you can't afford, buy a house there's no way you can afford, throw money in crypto and you would have no idea what you're doing, go to the casino and put your money on black. Everything's going to be fine. And then when it's not, you're talking about tens of millions of Americans who got destroyed in 08. You're talking about tens of millions of Americans that got destroyed in 2020
Yep.
with COVID. So it's so important to have that foundation. And number one, get out of high interest debt, period, right? I have clients that say, Joe, I want to invest with you. I want to invest with you. Here, I'll give you 1,000 a month, 5,000 a month. I said, all right, like that, I appreciate that, but tell me about your situation. Oh, I have a credit card at 27.99%. I have a student loan that just ballooned to 12%. I bought an ARM mortgage that's now going to go from 3% 4 years ago to 9%. So my payment's going to double on the same asset. I'm like, yeah, we're not working together until you clean that up. That's why my partner Dennis in Washington, he owns a company called Cashback, where he does budgets and he can pay off your mortgage 7 years faster without a single extra dollar, just by not keeping your money in the bank, getting a home equity line, put your money that's in the bank in a home equity line, and then moving money out the home equity line one day a month to pay your bills. Right? There's all these cool little tricks and strategies that the average American could learn about. They're just nervous. There's so many scams. There's so many people that can hurt you. There's so many snake oil salesmen. There's so many look at this hand while this hand does something horrible to them. So it's like they don't know who to trust. You know how I've grown to over 2,000 clients over 2 decades was getting in with a network and working with one and building a tree. And this one refers me to this one. And Oh, you should really hear what this guy has to say. I'm thinking about stopping my 401k. You're nuts, John. Don't stop your 401. Talk to Joe. And I show him my presentation, how you can save $1 million just in 2 minutes, right? It's if I'm putting away $15,000 in my 401k, I save five. Let's say you're high income,
Mm.
right? A third. I do that for 30 years. I save five times 30, which is 150 grand. And you're like, look at that. See, Joe, I'm not going to keep my 401k. That's 150 grand in my pocket plus growth. I'm like, okay, you deferred that 5,000. Like, yeah, you didn't save it. If you're watching the Giants versus the 49ers and somebody wins the toss, they defer to the
Right.
second half. That means you still got to do the thing. So when you take a look at it, when you defer that $5,000, right? Now I need money. I'm 65, I'm 70, I need 100,000 a year. If you only take federal tax into consideration, not state, FICA, Medicare, unemployment, or Social Security tax, you're going to have to gross $138,000 out of your account. That's 38,000 for Fed. You retire at 60, live till 90. $38,000 times 30 is $1.12 million in taxes to save 150. And that's if taxes don't go up. If taxes go up, it's going to cost you $2-3 million in taxes to save 150 grand. If I said, hey, Dave, I'm going to give you 150 grand now, and when you're retired, you're just going to owe me like 2 million bucks. Deal? Right? Nobody would take that deal, but just people are blindly investing in a 401k because
Because
it's a check mark.
it's the masses and not getting the right information. Okay, so this all sounds really bleak. Okay, let's switch this down because if not, we're probably having people jumping off bridges. What am I doing here? Okay, what is the average person? And that's where I keep going back to. How can we educate ourselves and then walk into somebody like you and go, I'm not going to let my company match if they're working for a company, but the money instead of me taking it, I'm going to invest it with you or somebody like you.
Yeah, it's very simple. You always go up to the match, especially 100% match. 50% match, we could have a conversation. It may not be worth it, but 100% match, take the free money. Even though that 100% match you're getting is just going Uncle Sam. You're getting none of that match, by the way. But whatever, take it because it feels good. You think you have way more money than you do. So, what should the average American do? They should get out of debt, have a budget, have a plan. Every dollar that comes in, pretend 10 cents of it wasn't there because I've clients who make 60 grand a year that are millionaires. I've clients who make $500,000 a year that are broke like negative net worth. So it's not about the income, it's about the behavior. It's about the morals, it's about the ethics, it's about the relationship you have with money. And it's being smart enough to make those decisions to say, I am going to sacrifice some value in my present self to add more value to my future self.
Mm.
And that what I find is there's very few people in between. Right? I just met with a client last week for $22 million. They still work at 71 years old and 64 years old. They still work. They love it. They're worth $22 million. They could have retired 15 years ago. They're like, no, we
Yeah, but you got
enjoy
to do
this.
something. That's really what it comes down to. It's not healthy for anybody to just say, okay, I'm not going to work. I'm not going to do, you got to figure out what you're going to do and what's your passion because you got to move. The idea is to move your mind, your body as long as it can. And if you get into a situation, I mean, my dad had Alzheimer's, but he also didn't work his mind and his body. He retired and that was it. And that's why I keep saying to people, I'm not my dad. While I might take things easier, I also create a strategy and work towards that goal. And I'm not done. I'm launching a charity. We're really getting heavy on the Goons for Good that my audience might know about. And there's so many different things that you got to do is just keep pushing it. So I'm always amazed that there are so many more people. Once you get to that level of the higher end. Now they might go on nicer vacations. Don't get me wrong. If you have money, you'll go on a nicer vacation, but you're going to work. Don't anybody think that this is the old days where you get your social security check and you live playing golf in Florida anymore. Golf is too expensive. Wherever you're going is going to be too expensive. And having that plan and having somebody like Joseph or my friend Dan also, those are the guys you need to talk to. You need to talk to somebody who knows what to do. And also, we have another, my friend Patrick Rude. He came out with a book saying how to steal from the government, but not legitimately steal, but knowing the rules. Once you know the rules, you know what you could do and where they don't talk to. Find the guys. So, like when you were talking about the contractors, why'd you go to those contractors? Those guys knew how to do it. They have a craft. And the important part about the craft becomes even more valuable because if you wanted to do something a little bit differently, and different is good, especially when you go into a new house and you have the workmanship and the idea, the personal planning, that's where the power really comes into it.
Yeah, it comes back to the old saying, when you stop working, you start spending. You stop working, you start dying.
Yep.
So it's very important. Like what my clients do is I'm just talking to one literally yesterday. He's been in corporate America, IT for one of those huge Fortune 500 companies, and he's burnt out.
Yep.
And he saved up millions of dollars in his 401k. And he says, you know what? I want to go teach karate. That's what I want to do. So he's going to go from making like 500 grand a year down to making like 50 and still trying to keep the same quality of life in California. And there's money is just the option to do fill in the blank. So people think I'm a millionaire, I have all this money, great, who cares? Oh, I take this money and I use it for my daughter so she can go to dance, use it for my son so he can play lacrosse and football and I can coach and I can take time away. My last name is Lombardi, for crying out loud. So it's like that's what I like. I drive a reliable vehicle, get my wife a nice big car that is very nice to drive the kids around. I have three of them. And it's like I live in a safe neighborhood, good school system, right? I have a big yard so my kids can go outside and play. I got a pool so when it's hot we can go in there with a trampoline. It's like that's why I wanted to help a lot of people and make money so I can improve the quality of life of the people I love the most. It's not about showing off or I have a 600 horsepower car so I could show off. I wanted something that was reliable. It's doing those things and having purpose
Yep.
and believing there's a higher power to guide you because we all are God's children.
Yep.
And it's just doing that and doing the right thing, giving out that positive karmatic energy. And it always comes back to you.
For
But on
sure.
the flip side, what do they say? Karma is because if you give negative energy out there, it's going to come back to you fivefold. So it's like always do the right thing. That's how I maintain my 5-star rating on Google, my A+ rating on the Better Business Bureau. Is just doing the right thing with everybody.
Okay. Thank you. I know you've educated me a little bit more and definitely scared us a little bit also because we don't know, right? The things we don't know. And that's also why diving down into working with the right professionals as we go forward. So we're rounding up the episode. One, I know you sent me some links, but how should we contact you?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, ironhawkfinancial.com, and there's a contact us button. Fill your name, email, phone number. If you would like all three of my books emailed to you for free, just write an email to Joe, Joe, at iron like the metal, hawk like the bird, financial.com, and just say free books. I won't bother you. I won't ask you to meet with me. I'll send you all my information with my Calendly link. So if you want to book a meeting after you read them, you're welcome to. I've never charged a client $1 in 20 years, never lost a client $1 in 20 years. So it's like you can reach me that way. You can also go to calendly.com/ironhawk financial, book a meeting, tell me you saw me on Dave's show, and I will definitely work with you and do the best that I can for whatever your situation is.
Well, thank you so much. So, is there one final gem that you'd like to leave with us, like a seed in the magic garden, or as I use my references, that you'd like to leave with us that the people can start thinking about as they listen to this episode?
Yeah, we were taught at a very young age to don't put all your eggs in one basket. Look at where your eggs are. All your eggs are in a taxable, illiquid, market exposed account. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, diversify.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, your knowledge, and we'll be talking in the future.
Thank you, Dave, so much.
Okay. And everybody else, as always, want to wish you peace and love as we bring it in, creating the right plans as we were talking about today. And when you bring a bat, just be awesome today and just keep swinging for that sweet spot. Thank you and have a good day. God bless.